In a small village called Ojio, where the sun rose gently and the birds sang like drums of joy, lived a woman named F. She was not rich. She did not wear fine clothes. But her heart was golden. Every day, F worked at the construction site by the highway. She mixed sand, carried blocks, and wiped sweat from her face with the same cloth she used to pray. One evening, dark clouds rolled across the sky. The rain came heavy like a warning from the heavens. Everyone rushed home. But F stayed back, trying to help her boss cover the bags of cement. As she walked down the road to her small room, she saw something strange. A black jeep had crashed into the bush. The driver's door was open. A man sat by the roadside, holding his leg and groaning. He was soaked. His phone was dead. His clothes were dirty. He looked like a beggar. People passed by. Some stared. Others whispered, "Be careful. He may be a thief." But F didn't walk away. She ran to him and knelt beside him. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked. The man looked at her with tired eyes. He nodded slowly but said nothing. F didn't ask him where he was from. She didn't ask if he had money. She just gave him her scarf to cover his shoulders. Then she ran to a nearby kiosk and bought him pure water and bread with the last 200 Nigerian naira she had. She helped him rest against a tree. He stared at her with surprise. No one had ever cared like this. But what F didn't know was this. That man was Chief Nnamdi Obiora, a billionaire. He had left the city that day, dressed simply, with no guards, no driver, trying to escape the fake people in his life. He wanted to know what the world looked like without his money. And now, here he was, helped by a poor woman who didn't even know his name. But that wasn't the real surprise. Because what happened next would change both of their lives forever. F helped the man stand up slowly. His leg was bruised, and he limped badly. She looked around. No cars were stopping. "Come," she said gently, "my place is not far. You can rest there tonight." The man nodded again. It was strange. A rich man, walking in the rain with a woman carrying a paint-stained nylon bag and mud on her feet. But he didn't feel ashamed. He felt safe. When they reached her small room, F quickly cleaned a stool and offered him a dry wrapper to change into. The room had no fan, no television, and only one mattress on the floor. But it felt warm, not because of the room, but because of her heart. She gave him yam and palm oil to eat, boiled water for his leg, and even sang softly as he dozed off on her mattress. She slept on the floor that night. The next morning, she woke up early, prepared pap for him, and asked him, "What's your name, sir?" The man smiled weakly. "Call me Obi." F nodded and smiled back. "Okay, Obi. You'll be fine soon." Obi stayed for 3 more days. F kept treating him like a brother. She gave without asking. She laughed without pretending. She prayed before eating and sang while sweeping. She was different from anyone he had ever met. But deep inside, Chief Nnamdi, now pretending to be Obi, was troubled. Would she still care if she knew who he truly was? Would she still smile if she found out that he owned companies, cars, and estates, while she was struggling to buy soap? He wanted to tell her the truth. But he was afraid of losing something he had just found. Real love. Honest care. True peace. One night, while F was washing her clothes outside, Obi walked to the road and made a phone call using a borrowed phone. "Tell the driver to meet me at the junction tomorrow." Quietly. He had to return to the city. He had to test something. He left before F woke up the next day, but not without leaving a small brown envelope under her pillow. Inside it was a letter and an address. But she didn't see it yet. Hours later, a white jeep waited at a mansion gate in the big city. Obi stepped out, wearing his gold watch again. His face was sharp. His suit was clean. But his heart was confused. He stared at the mirror and whispered to himself, "Will she still look at me the same way when she finds out who I am?" F woke up early, like she always did. She yawned, stretched, and turned to check if Obi was awake. But he was gone. "Obi," she called softly. No answer. She stepped outside, nothing. His wrapper was neatly folded. The cup he used was washed. And then, she saw it. A brown envelope under her pillow. She picked it up, her hands shaking. Inside was a short letter, written in neat handwriting. "Dear F. Thank you for being light in my darkness. You didn't know me. But you cared. I can never forget you. If you ever want to see me again, come to this place. I will be waiting. Obi." Below the note was a printed address. It was in the capital city. F stood still for a long time. Her heart beat fast. She didn't understand everything, but she knew one thing. Obi was not who she thought he was. Later that day, F borrowed money from a coworker, entered a crowded bus, and began a long journey to the city, holding the letter tightly in her hand. In the big city, Chief Nnamdi, now back in his full billionaire life, stood beside a large glass window in his mansion. But his heart was not at rest. His assistant came in. "Sir, your board meeting starts in 20 minutes. He nodded, but his mind was far. He had been watching the gate since morning. Hoping. Waiting. Would she come? Would she be afraid? Would she recognize him? Would she walk away? Meanwhile, F finally reached the address. The gate was taller than anything she had ever seen. She walked closer, holding the note. A security man stepped out. "Yes. Who are you looking for?" I'm looking for Obi," she said. The guard looked confused. Just then, a voice came from inside the compound. "Let her in." F stepped in slowly. The compound was like a movie. Fountain water, big flowers, marble floor. Her feet made soft sounds on the clean tiles. Then the door opened. And there he was. Clean haircut. Italian suit. Expensive perfume. Same smile. "Obi," she whispered. He nodded. "My full name is Chief Nnamdi Obiora, and I never forgot the girl who gave me bread and water when I had nothing." F stood there, frozen. Her eyes wide. She wanted to speak. But no words came out. Just silence. And in that silence, their story truly began. F's legs felt weak. Her eyes moved slowly around the house, the glass staircase, the golden chandelier, the silent maids bowing at the corner. But her eyes came back to one thing, him. "Chief Nnamdi," she said, still unsure. He smiled gently. "Yes. But to you, I'm still Obi." F stepped back. "You're rich." "Very," he said. "But I've never been cared for like you cared for me. Not with money. Not with status. Just love. Pure love." Tears filled her eyes. "So, everything was a test?" He shook his head. "No. I wasn't testing you. I was running from people who only saw me as money. I was tired. I wanted to breathe. I never expected to meet you." F looked down at her old slippers. She felt out of place. Out of level. She whispered, "I don't belong here." Chief Nnamdi walked up to her and took her hands gently. "You belong wherever your heart takes you. You saved me when I didn't even know I needed saving." Just then, a tall, elegant woman walked down the stairs. She wore high heels and held a file in her hand. Her eyes scanned F from head to toe. "Chief, the meeting has started. Everyone's waiting." He nodded but didn't let go of F's hands. "She's with me," he said calmly. The woman looked surprised. "Ah." "Yes," he replied. "Ah." Later that day, F sat alone on a garden bench inside the compound. Her mind was turning. The house was too big. The workers were too quiet. Everything was clean, but cold. Obi, Chief Namdi, returned and sat beside her. He handed her a small box. F opened it. Inside was a brand new pair of shoes, and her old scarf, the one she gave him when he was cold by the roadside. "You kept this?" she asked. He nodded. "It reminded me that good people still exist." F smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Chief, I don't know how to live in this world of yours. I'm just a village girl who carries cement." Namdi turned to her, his voice soft but strong. "Maybe that's the kind of woman the world needs more of." But just as peace began to settle between them, trouble knocked. Because someone was watching. Someone from Namdi's past who didn't like what was happening. A woman who had always wanted him, for his wealth, not his heart. And now, she had a plan. A plan to chase F away. A plan to remind everyone that in the real world, rich marry rich. And that plan was about to begin. While Chief Namdi and F sat quietly in the garden, sharing gentle smiles, someone was watching from the top window. Her name was Amoka. She was rich, beautiful, and sharp-tongued. For years, she had been trying to become Chief Namdi's wife, not because she loved him, but because she loved his status, his cars, and the sound of her name becoming Mrs. Obiora. So when she saw F, a woman with sand on her fingers and cracks on her heels, sitting beside Namdi, laughing and holding his old scarf, fire rose in her heart. "No," Amoka whispered. "This girl must go." The next day, F walked out of her room and found a new dress on her bed. It was soft, long, and shiny. She wore it shyly and came downstairs. But the moment she reached the living room, Amoka was waiting. Well, Amoka said, sipping tea. "Look at the village Cinderella." F stood quietly. Amoka stood up, her eyes cold. "Let me make this simple for you. People like you are good at building houses, not living in them. You think helping him once means you belong here." F didn't reply. Amoka walked closer. "Let me tell you what will happen. He'll soon remember who he really is. And when he does, you'll be gone. Just another poor girl with a kind heart and nothing else." F's hands tightened by her side. Her voice was soft but steady. "I may not have riches, but I have something you don't have. Peace. And if he leaves me for that reason, then maybe he was never mine." Amoka laughed. "Let's see how long that peace lasts." She dropped a file on the table and walked out. F opened it slowly. Inside were photos of her old house, her torn slippers, the day she begged for transport fare to the city. She stared at them. It was true. She was poor. She had nothing. But she remembered something else too. The man on the road. The smile after drinking water. The peaceful nights of sharing pap and prayers. That was real. So she wiped her tears and stood up. But Amoka wasn't finished. Because she had one more plan, one that would shake Namdi to his core, and put F's heart to the final test. That evening, Chief Namdi returned from a board meeting, tired but excited to see F. He stepped into the house and found her sitting quietly on the edge of the long white sofa, holding a file in her lap. He smiled and said, "I've missed you." F looked up at him. Her eyes were soft, but different. "I saw the file," she whispered. Namdi's smile dropped. "What file?" "The one with pictures of my house, my old slippers, the day I begged for transport." He frowned. "Who showed you that?" F didn't answer. Instead, she asked, "Do you truly believe I fit into your world, Namdi?" He stepped closer. F, I don't care about your background. But your word does, she said, standing up slowly. Your friends, your parties, your people, they will look at me like dirt under their shoes. I don't care what they think, he snapped. And then, Amoka walked in. Oh, but I do, she said sweetly. We all care, Namdi. What would the world say if the great Chief Obiora left a businesswoman like me for a block-carrying roadside girl? Namdi glared at her. You're out of line. But Amoka smiled, took a step forward, and said what she had planned all along. Tell her the truth, Namdi. Tell her why you really came to Ojo that day. F looked confused. What does she mean? Namdi hesitated. His throat dried up. He didn't want to say it, but the silence was louder than lies. Amoka continued. You didn't tell her about the land you were buying in Ojo. Or the fact that you were spying on the local people before your company demolished their homes. Or that your car didn't just break down, you were escaping an angry crowd. F froze. Namdi whispered, it's not what you think. F took a step back. So, you were not just a lost man on the road. No, I was, he said quickly. That part is true. I was tired. Confused. I didn't even know who I was anymore. But what I found in you, that was real. Amoka folded her arms. You see, my dear F, men like him don't live in your world. They visit, get refreshed, then return home. F stared at Namdi, her eyes wet now. You lied to me, she said softly. Even after all we shared. Namdi stepped forward, desperate. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything because I didn't want to lose you. F turned away. And without saying another word, she walked out of the mansion. That night, rain fell again. Just like the night they met. But this time, she was the one walking alone. Back to Ojo. Back to the only place she knew. But what she didn't know was, she was carrying something inside her. A secret that would change everything again. Days passed. Then weeks. F was back in Ojo, but her heart was no longer at peace. She still woke up early. Still went to the construction site. Still mixed cement and carried blocks. But her smile was missing. Each time she passed the spot where she found him that rainy night, her chest tightened. And then, something strange began to happen. She felt weak in the mornings. Food made her feel sick. Her stomach would twist, and she had to sit often at work. At first, she thought it was stress. Then one morning, Mama Chidima, the woman who sold herbs nearby, called her aside. F, she said, smiling gently. Your face, your eyes, your glow. My dear, you're not just tired. You're carrying a child. F's eyes widened. Me? She touched her belly. Memories flashed like lightning in her mind, the night Namdi held her hand, the morning he made pap for her, the quiet laughter under the stars. It was true. She was pregnant. With his child. In the city, Chief Namdi sat by the same window every morning. Waiting. He hadn't eaten properly. He hadn't smiled. His phone stayed silent. Amoka had left after the last fight. She realized she had lost. But Namdi didn't feel like a winner. He felt empty. Why didn't I just tell her everything from the start, he asked himself. One morning, he told his driver, take me to Ojo. The driver paused. Sir, after what happened? I said, take me to Ojo, Namdi repeated. And so they drove. Back to the red earth road. Back to the simple houses. Back to where everything began. Meanwhile, F sat quietly outside her room, rubbing her belly and humming the same song she used to sing when Obi, the man she thought was just a stranger, first stayed in her home. Her eyes were closed. Then she heard it. A car engine. Not the usual kiki or bike, but the deep sound of a black jeep. Her heart skipped. She stood slowly. And there he was. Chief Nnamdi stepped out of the jeep, holding a small box and wearing the scarf she once gave him. Their eyes met. No words came out. Not yet. Because both hearts were full. Full of questions. Full of regrets. Full of love. But most of all, full of the same beating hope. The red dust danced in the air as the black jeep came to a quiet stop. F stood frozen in front of her room, belly small but gently round. Her wrapper was tied firmly, her hands still dusted with sand from the sight. But her heart was beating louder than ever. Chief Nnamdi stepped out. He didn't wear his gold watch. He didn't come with guards. Only a small box in his hand, and the scarf she gave him the night it rained. For a moment, they said nothing. Then, softly, he spoke. F. I came back for what I should never have left behind. She blinked back tears. Why did you lie to me? I didn't lie, he said, stepping closer. I just didn't know how to tell the truth, without losing you. He knelt, not because he was proposing, but because it was the only way to show his heart. You gave me love when I looked like nothing. You gave me food, care, and dignity when the world had none to give. You didn't care about who I was, and now, I want to spend the rest of my life proving I care about who you are. He opened the small box. Inside was not a ring, but a tiny baby shoe. F gasped softly, one hand flying to her mouth. You knew, she whispered. He smiled. No. But I prayed. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then another. I was afraid, she said. Afraid your word would crush me. My word means nothing without you in it, he replied. Behind them, curious neighbors peeked through windows. The children whispered, Auntie F's big man has come back. F slowly stepped forward and placed his hand on her belly. I still carry the pain, she said. But I also carry your child. And I carry both of you, he replied. For life. They hugged. Not the kind of hug that happens in city weddings with cameras and cake. But the kind that happens when two broken hearts finally heal in each other's arms. Months later, F and Nnamdi had a small village wedding, no gold, no celebrity guests. Just music, food, laughter, and truth. F later opened a foundation for village women in construction, helping those like her find strength in their stories. And Chief Nnamdi. He was no longer just known as the billionaire. He was known as the man who found his treasure in the mud. Moral lesson. Don't judge people by their clothes or their status. Sometimes, the purest gold lies hidden in dust and sweat. And true love is not found in riches, but in kindness that asks for nothing in return.